what if Eren won the final battle, completed the rumbling, and became king of the world? That is the ending that many people would have preferred to the ending that we got. But what would this new ending actually mean for the story and its characters? What would King Eren do next? Let's talk about it right now. If you guys enjoy my content here on the channel, leave a quick like and comment for that YouTube algorithm. And if you want to help this channel attain its final Titan form by hitting 2 million subscribers, do me a big favor and subscribe right now. We are so close. Okay, I'm gonna assume that all of you guys know the original ending by now, especially since it finally aired in the anime. The anime did expand on the ending and make it better, and I did an entire video breaking down the anime ending and how it differs from the manga, so I will link that in the description if you want a detailed play-by-play. Here, I want to jump right into the scenario in which the rumbling doesn't stop when 80% of humanity outside of the island of Paradise is wiped out. Instead, Eren goes all the way and wipes out 100% of humanity outside the island. Eren remains the Machiavellian badass that he became during the whole Jaegerist and rumbling saga, and after the rumbling concludes, he returns to Paradise to rule as king. In order to unlock this alternate ending, we have to change some of the events that take place in the final arc of the story. Now, we don't want to change Eren's character completely, so we have to assume that he still wants to protect his friends and loved ones as much as possible. After all, that is why he initiated the rumbling in the first place. He didn't do it because he enjoyed killing all of those people. He did it because he felt that it was the only way to prevent the island from being annihilated by an international military alliance. People sometimes forget that prior to the rumbling, Paradise was about to be attacked and invaded by a massive international military force. Everyone Eren loved and cared about would have been killed just because the world saw the Eldians on the island as devils. It didn't matter whether the people on the island actually did anything wrong, it didn't matter if they were innocent children, they were all about to be destroyed, and their destruction was imminent. Eren tried traveling to Marley in order to make peace, but the peace mission failed. The other nations didn't want peace, they wanted to completely annihilate Paradise and everyone on it. Now in the original ending, Eren doesn't want to take away the freedom of his friends, including the Titan Shifters and the Ackermans. And so he allows them to keep their powers and to try to stop him, even though it's clear that after activating the Founding Titan power, Eren does have the ability to simply take their powers away from them. In this alternate scenario, Eren still wants to protect his friends, but he doesn't prioritize their freedom. He simply strips them of their powers as soon as he activates the rumbling, making it virtually impossible for them to actually stop him. They might still try to get on that plane and stop him somehow, but if they do, Eren might take further action. For example, he could affect their physiology in other ways, or even mess with their memories in order to prevent them from ever leaving the island. Alternatively, he could communicate directly with Floch and the Jaegerists and just instruct them to incapacitate the plane and all the ships immediately. Keeping all of his friends trapped on the island and away from the rumbling is the best way to make sure they survive. So if Eren is completely focused on keeping them safe and finishing the rumbling and he doesn't care about their freedom, forcing them to stay on Paradise is the best course of action. Eren then successfully carries out the rumbling and destroys 100% of humanity outside of Paradise. Now to be fair, small groups of humans could still survive if they fly over the rumbling in an airship or hide deep beneath the earth, such as in really deep underground mines or caves. But even if these small groups survive, everything on the surface will be destroyed, and it will take centuries for these small groups of survivors to create a new civilization from scratch. So, okay, after Eren completes the rumbling, what does he do next? As we know, his top priority is to ensure the safety of his friends and loved ones and to protect Paradise. You could argue that by completing the rumbling, Eren has achieved that goal, and now he can do whatever he wants. He could pick some random part of the world and live there alone until the curse of Ymir claims his life, and he could even bring Mikasa there with him and live out his final days together with her in complete isolation. In some ways, Eren would finally be free. Free in the way he fantasized about as a kid when he and Armin talked about a vast, endless world beyond the walls, a world where humanity had gone extinct. In this fantasy world, there was no need to worry about rivalry, conflict, or jealousy because no one else was there. But in this scenario we are creating, freedom is not Eren's priority. Yes, he has eliminated the outside threat to Paradise, but human nature being what it is, there are plenty of internal threats to the island. Even back when all of humanity on Paradise believed that they were the only humans left in the world, and even when they all had a common enemy in the form of the Titans, there was still internal conflict on the island. There was a repressive government, a brutal secret police, there were people who opposed the government, and so on. Now that a common external enemy is gone, the people are likely to form factions and turn on each other. The Jaegerists might go too far and abuse their power, the old elite might strike back against the Jaegerists, even more factions could emerge, and so on. So the only way for Eren to ensure peace on the island is to return to Paradise and to rule as its king. Most of the people there would see Eren as the hero who saved them from imminent destruction. And since he has the power of the founder, he would be looked upon as a sort of god king who must be obeyed. The Jaegerists would be 100% on board with his rule, and if he chose to marry into the old royal family by taking Historia as his wife, he would also gain the support of the old royalist elites who still resent the rise of the Jaegerists. But realistically, he could still hold on to power fairly easily even without involving Historia, so he could technically still marry Mikasa. I know that all of you Mikasa and Eren shippers would appreciate that, and believe me, I am one of you. That said, for all the support he would have, if he completed the rumbling while leaving all the shifters and Levi and Mikasa stranded on the island, he would be greatly resented by them. He destroyed the families of the Marleyans, he dishonored Levi, and he broke Mikasa's heart. He would also be resented by any foreigners still on that island, including Kiyomi and her people, Onyankompon, Yelena, and so on. Now, to be honest, I think that Mikasa would definitely come around eventually because she loves Eren. Although if Eren chose to marry Historia and abandon Mikasa, then she would probably remain angry with him. Eren could choose to just live with the potential threat of these guys possibly retaliating in the future, or he could take steps to deal with them. Now, we already said that he wants to protect his friends, he can't just kill them, but he could potentially manipulate their memories. He could make them forget what he did or mess with their memories in some other way in order to keep them from trying to retaliate against him in the future. Again, he is definitely taking away their freedom if he does this, but in this scenario he already did that before, so he's not too worried about doing it again if it means keeping everyone on the island safe. Eren could even go a step further and bring the story full circle by erasing everyone's memory of the rumbling and who was responsible for it. Basically, everyone would just think that humanity went extinct outside the island. For all they knew, it could have happened 1,000 years ago, and that is just the way things are. It's literally what everyone on the island thought at the beginning of the story, only this time the fact that there are no humans on the outside is actually true, and not just a lie made up by King Karl Fritz. Eren obviously can't live forever, founding titan or no founding titan, so he can't keep the peace on Paradise permanently. Even if he could somehow use Ymir's power to eliminate the curse of Ymir, he would still die of old age eventually. If Eren's priority is long-term safety and stability, then his best bet is to create a hereditary monarchical system where the current king will prepare his children from birth to become rulers and to inherit the founding titan power. Hereditary monarchies are certainly not the most free or democratic political systems, but historically they've proven to be the most stable, just as the Roman and Byzantine empires. So if the goal is long-term stability, then Eren becomes king, creates a new Jaeger royal dynasty, and prepares his descendants to rule for decades and centuries to come. We do still have the question of whether any sort of memory manipulation would even work on the Ackermans, because as a minority bloodline, they were immune to Karl Fritz's decision to erase the memories of all Eldians on the island. However, Eren did demonstrate the ability to affect Mikasa and Levi through the paths, so maybe the fact that he has Ymir Fritz actively supporting him means that he can bypass the minority bloodline limitation. Otherwise, he would have to somehow pacify the remaining Ackermans, literally both of them, maybe by buying them some more scarves. Now, these what-if scenarios are a lot of fun to think about. However, we have to remember that all of this speculation is based on the premise that Eren could still convince Ymir to lend him her power, even if the rumbling went in a different direction. The final chapters of the story imply that Ymir only agreed to help Eren because he promised to free her from her servitude to her late husband, King Fritz. In the end, Eren was able to free Ymir through Mikasa. More specifically, when Ymir saw that Mikasa was willing to go against Eren and kill him even though she loved him, because she was doing it for the greater good of humanity, Ymir realized that she could do the same. She could defy the will of King Fritz for the greater good, even though she still loved him. If Mikasa is not there to stop the rumbling, and if she doesn't kill Eren, then Ymir is not freed. In some ways, she continues to serve King Fritz's will, which is now embodied within the will of King Eren Jaeger, the new king of Eldia. Since Ymir is not freed, then Titan powers of course remain, unless Eren can find some way to erase Titan powers altogether with Ymir's help. If he did this, he would of course be taking away his own power, and so he is also reducing his own ability to ensure peace and stability on the island. If the curse of Ymir remains, then characters like Eren, Reiner, Armin, Annie, Peak, and Falco are all destined for an early grave. As I mentioned earlier, maybe with the power of Ymir on his side, Eren can find some sort of solution to the curse. Like maybe he can modify the bodies of all the shifters, including himself, in order to make them immune to the curse's effects, but that is of course pure speculation. There is also the possibility that Eren could make himself live longer even without removing the curse, and that is by sealing himself inside a crystal like the one that Annie used. This would allow him to stay alive longer and emerge only in times of crisis to bring everyone in line in case civil conflict or something along those lines occurs. Even with the crystal, his time would run out eventually, but he would have a lot more time to prepare a successor and ensure that the transition happens smoothly. This would mean that Eren can't even enjoy the little time that he has left, but that is the sacrifice he must make for the sake of his friends and everyone else on the island. Since he's already sacrificed the rest of humanity for this cause, it isn't hard to imagine him sacrificing even more. All of this speculation also assumes that the events that occurred in the original ending of Attack on Titan weren't predestined and inevitable. In his conversation with Armin in the end, Eren makes it pretty clear that everything that happened was destined to happen and that he couldn't change it no matter how hard he tried. This is made even more explicit in the anime ending than in the manga. Our alternate scenario in which Eren becomes king of the world rests on the assumption that yes, Eren could actively decide what happens, he wasn't a pawn of destiny, and his mind wasn't being warped by the founding Titan. Based on what Eren says to Armin, there is some question about the state of Eren's mind once he begins to experience the past, present, and future as one and the same within the founding Titan. If he sees the past, present, and future as the same thing, then how can he change the future? To him, the future has already happened, so how does he change what already is? I'm not gonna get into the metaphysics of all this, but I just wanted to bring it up as something to think about. But okay, let's say Eren can win, he does win, and he becomes king. What ultimately happens to the island? And I don't mean just after Eren, but even hundreds of years later. Unless the founding Titan power exercises totalitarian control over the population at all times, I think we pretty much get the same ending as in the original. There will be relative peace for some time, perhaps even centuries, but eventually human nature will do what human nature does, and there will be war and conflict. Even with the rest of humanity wiped out, humanity on the island can still find a way to fight amongst themselves. The island of Paradise is roughly based on the island of Madagascar in our own world, and Madagascar is considered to be the 4th largest island in the world. If Paradise is of a similar size, then there is plenty of room there for, say, Southern Paradise to try to break away from Northern Paradise, or for the Jaegerists to go to war against some rival political faction. For all we know, that apocalyptic war that happens at the very end of the story could have been a civil war. So I think that if Titan powers are somehow removed from the world in the future, or if the founding Titan power is not being used in a blatantly totalitarian way by the king, then some kind of internal conflict is inevitable. That is just what the history of our own world teaches us, and this is the exact lesson that Attack on Titan has been trying to convey from the very beginning. Unfortunately, human nature being what it is, war and conflict are inevitable. They can be delayed, but they can never be completely avoided. Thankfully, humanity is resilient, and even in the hardest of circumstances, humans find a way to survive. That is exactly what we see in the very end, when that child and dog are seen walking through the post-apocalyptic landscape, proving that even after that destructive future war, some people did survive and continue to live on the island of Paradise. Okay, tell me right now and be honest, which ending do you prefer? The original, or the ending where Eren wins and becomes king of the world? Do you think things would have turned out differently if Eren chose this path? Or do you think that in the end we will get a massive war no matter what? Let me know down in the comments. If you're looking for an epic Attack on Titan video to watch next, check out my full breakdown of the new anime ending, link on screen and in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more Attack on Titan content in the future, leave a quick like to let me know. And if you want to help this channel attain its final Titan form by reaching 2 million subscribers, do me a huge favor and subscribe right now. We are almost there.